Behind me is the home once owned by Rebecca Vaughn. It's now been reconstructed and is near Cortland, Virginia. That's in Southampton County in the southeastern part of the state. In 1831, August 1831 to be precise, there was in Southampton County the worst slave rebellion in American history, and the most famous by far, Nat Turner's Rebellion, which occurred between August 21st and August 23rd of 1831. The Vaughn House is significant because it was the last house to be visited by Nat Turner's followers during the days of the rebellion. The followers arrived on horseback, dismounted, came toward the house. Somehow or other, Rebecca Vaughn, a widow, hadn't heard about the rebellion and didn't understand what was going on until the enslaved African Americans, these rebels, came close to the house. She tried to shutter one. She shuttered one window. She was trying to shutter another one when one of the rebels saw her at the window, shot her in the face, and killed her instantly. They then broke into the house, found Rebecca's 18-year-old niece, Elizabeth, shot her, shot Rebecca Vaughn's son, and then also shot the overseer who supervised the enslaved African Americans who worked on Rebecca Vaughn's farm. What you're going to see now, as you proceed through the module, are several videos that look at Nat Turner's Rebellion from different angles, and you'll be able to tell what they are as you go through. This is going to be kind of an unusual module because it'll be based primarily on these videos, and I won't have much to say by way of lecturing because it really won't be necessary. The main thing to discuss is something to get out of the way at the outset. What makes this rebellion part of military history, the military history of the United States? Well, there are two reasons for it. The straightforward reason is that the rebellion was ended by the arrival of Virginia militia. So that gives you a direct military connection. But more broadly, we must not think of military history in a kind of a narrow box. It's much more expansive than that. I try not to define war anymore because I think the concept is too complex for any definition to really capture. It's as complex as, say, the word love. Everybody knows what love is, but everybody knows that love is complex and has so many dimensions that no one can come up with a definition that encompasses all of them. War is like that. And my conception of war is broad enough to include a rebellion such as the one launched by Nat Turner, whose followers killed about 60 white residents in Southampton County before the rebellion ended. And by the way, in retaliation, whites killed over 200 African Americans, some of them free, some of them slaves, many of whom had nothing to do with the rebellion. They didn't capture Nat Turner himself until some months later, and then hanged him in front of the courthouse in what was then called Jerusalem Courthouse, Virginia, what is the present day town of Cortland. So even if you don't want to accept the idea of Nat Turner's Rebellion as an example of war, think about the cognitive, a kind of a cognitive map or a cognitive landscape about war. And you have a definition of what war is in your own mind. Well, And in fact, you've created boundaries. So if you were dealing with a landscape, you've created boundaries around what war is and is not, or what military history is and is not. Well, what you have to take into account as well are the borderlands of war. In the same way that along the border between Texas and Mexico, there's not a hard and fast frontier. Um, the regions between Texas and Mexico interact economically, culturally, and in other kinds of ways, so that you can't be talking about a discrete frontier. You really need to think in terms of borderlands. We'll do the same thing with war. What lies just outside of your definition of war? I think you'll find that just outside your definition would be something exactly like Nat Turner's Rebellion. Now, in terms of what we'll be doing during the course of the week, the material for the Common Defense you're going to get out of the book itself. We'll use the study guide for that. We're going to focus on Nat Turner's Rebellion. I have to take my daughter to a medical appointment, and so I won't have a chance to put together any sort of lecture until a bit later. I'll do that part of it, a bit of a recorded lecture presentation. But I'm going to let the story be told primarily through these videos, which are very vivid and compelling. Although I will tell you right now, they're difficult to watch because what went on in the rebellion was savage. And that's not a characterization to condemn Nat Turner's Rebellion, or to say that it was that it was not a justifiable uprising against being enslaved, the tyranny of being enslaved. It is a simple description of what happened. What happened was savage. It was awful. It was terrible. And one of the short films that you're going to see, which was made by an African American film production company, and features a really good African American actor playing Nat Turner, is probably so just unflinching in its depiction of what went on in Nat Turner's Rebellion, that at first blush you would think it was made by the Ku Klux Klan or some white supremacist organization. Okay, I'll stop here for now, and let you get on with watching those videos, and I'll have more to say later on. Okay, take care, and I'll see you again soon.